Can't even picture that.
Very
All
nice.
right, the shutdown countdown is underway at Capitol Hill, entering day 8 of the forefront of the debate, ObamaCare and our nation's debt.
So, is it legal to shut down the government over Obamacare?
Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano is here with more on that.
Good morning, guys. How are you? You know, the Republicans, in my view, are really onto something because the Constitution contemplates a two-step process for anything to become law. First, the law is enacted. The House votes, the Senate votes, the President signs it. Then they have to pay for it. The Constitution specifically provides for that second step of having to pay for it. That enables a Congress today to decide they don't want to pay for something that a Congress enacted 10 years ago or 5 years ago or even 1 year ago because they don't have the money for it.
How often do they do that, though, where they defund a program?
They don't do it very often, but they have the authority to do it, and the Constitution specifically has that second step in there so that they'll be able to do that. So when the Democrats and the President are saying, it's the law of the land, you have to pay for it, that's nonsense. The Constitution says they don't have to pay for anything they don't want. They can put it on a shelf for a year, as Senator Ted Cruz has suggested.
Right.
They can deep six it for a longer period of time, as many Republicans in the House have said, or they can find the money and pay for it. But the choice is theirs. They're not obliged to do anything that they don't have the money for.
Judge, we're looking at $17 trillion that the U.S. owes to its creditors. What about the debt ceiling?
Well, that's another issue that's going to be coming up next week. The government collects $2.5 trillion in revenue. It spends $3.7 trillion. Where does the $1.2 trillion come from? They borrow it. If they don't borrow it, then the president will have to figure out how to run the executive branch of the government on less money than he's accustomed to. Do you think he's going to make it easy for us? Or do you think he will make the rest of us miserable by shutting down the things we want and need and keeping open the things that we don't want and don't need?
But by taking the daily revenue in or the weekly revenue in, he can sustain the government, right, and still pay the debt, the interest on the debt?
The interest on the debt is automatically being paid. Transfer payments like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security is automatically being paid. And the Defense Department is automatically being paid. This debate with the budget and the debate next week with borrowing more money is over discretionary items that we don't really need as a country, not the mainstay staples that everybody relies on.
So you're saying the Republicans do have law on their side should they choose to defund? Will the other House and the White House go with it? No. So that's where
Probably
we are
not.
today.
But next week it'll require both to agree. So if the House says, no, we're not going to borrow any more money, they're not going to borrow any more money.
8 days we're in the shutdown, but 9 days until we hit the debt limit. Judge, thanks so much.
Pleasure, guys. Good to be with you.
Thank you.